everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. I'm your host Terry. It's March 4th. I'm here in Monette, as they say. I feel like it should be Monet, but we'll go with Monette. Missouri at Tyson. So all was going well, although it took them a while to get my load ready to go. But I called them and I drove over here from Springfield. So I get here, and the lady at the gate. Oh, you know what? Let me back up for a second. I forgot. We got to talk a little history. So on this day in 1933, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was inaugurated for the first time to the first of 4 terms he would be inaugurated to. He didn't serve all 4. He died in office in 1945. But 1933, he was inaugurated on this date. And also on this date in 1933, Francis Perkins was sworn in as the Secretary of Labor. The reason that's important or noteworthy is she was the first woman to be a cabinet secretary in the U.S. government. Also on this day in 1789, the Constitution went into effect. And on this date in 1681, William Penn secured what would become Pennsylvania from King Charles II of England as a sanctuary for Quakers and for other religious denominations that were not the favorites. And by the way, so obviously Pennsylvania is named after Penn. But what's the Sylvania part? Well, Sylvania refers to a forest. And if you go to Pennsylvania, it still has a lot of trees. Still a lot of trees in PA, especially up in the north part up along I-80. Lots and lots of trees. And then on this date in 1888, perhaps the first well-known kind of celebrity sports coach was born in Voss, Norway. Can you guess who it is? I said celebrity, famous sports coach, Knut Rockne. Knut Rockne, yeah. He was not from the United States. He was born in Norway. And I bet you $5 no one in South Bend, because he coached at Notre Dame, no one in South Bend ever said, "Shut up with that Norwegian. Go back where you came from." No, not Knut Rockne. He's got a rest area on the Indiana Toll Road named after him. That's how much they like that Norwegian dude. Okay, so I just want to take a little minute of a time out. I got an Iowa t-shirt on today. Not that she needs it, but I want to give a shout out to Caitlin Clark. And if you don't know who Caitlin Clark is, you must have had your head in the sand. Because, and I'm going to say this, and I'm pretty sure I can back it up, but yesterday in a regular season game, final regular season game in the Big Ten for Iowa women's basketball, Caitlin Clark surpassed Pistol Pete Maravich as the all-time Division I NCAA scoring person, most points. And what's noteworthy about that, and by the way, Maravich played from 1967 to 1970 at LSU. He only played in college 3 years because as freshmen back then, they weren't allowed to play on varsity. Now, a lot of guys only play as freshmen and go to the NBA. But here's one of the things, a lot of people say, oh, well, she had an extra year to do it. And, to beat Maravich's record. Maravich's record was 3,667 points. And I can't remember what Caitlin ended up with, but she actually surpassed him in the first half yesterday on a believe it or not, even though this girl can shoot from the parking lot, I mean, when she's getting off the bus, she's dropping threes. But she actually passed Maravich for 36-68 on some shots from the charity stripe on a technical foul. So kind of crazy, but you know, just props to her and props to all the awesome, you know, women's sports in general, but women's basketball, you know, NIL has been huge for college sports, but it's even been more awesome for women's sports. And the reason is that even professional women players in different sports, whether it's, you know, soccer, basketball, you know, whatever other sports they're in, they oftentimes make substantially less than their male counterparts. And, you know, the thing is that in some cases I get it, like the NBA being more popular than the WNBA. I get that. But like with women's soccer, the U.S. women were like they never didn't win the world championship, and the men sucked and the men were making more. I just don't get that. But anyway, great day for women's athletics. And here's my take on Caitlin Clark. There are gonna be well, I've already heard some men say, oh, she's not the GOAT, blah blah blah, she didn't do that. Forget about that. Caitlin Clark is the most consequential basketball player in the history of college basketball. And I'll tell you why. Caitlin Clark, more than anybody else, and I don't care who you name, no other basketball player has put people in seats the way she does. Some tickets for yesterday's regular season game in Iowa City, and by the way, they played Ohio State. Ohio State had already locked up the Big Ten regular season championship. There were tickets for that game, which only, you know, they played it, but Ohio State had already locked up the regular season championship. Tickets for that game, some tickets were going for $5,500 for a women's basketball game in Iowa City in early March. $5,500, okay? There are schools that have never sold out a basketball game, sold out games because Iowa was playing them. Northwestern, Wisconsin, I don't know who, there was somebody else that had never, Nebraska had never sold out a women's basketball game. Caitlin Clark is an economic engine. She matters more to the sport of women's basketball than any male player has ever mattered to, you know, men's basketball. All the games that she plays in are going to be sold out. And she's going to be the AP Player of the Year again. She is going to be the #1 draft pick of the WNBA, and she's going to go to the Indiana Fever. And by the way, she'll be paired up with Aaliyah Boston, who was the #1 pick last year. But even when you look at stuff she's accomplished, she's not just the best women's basketball player. In many, many respects, she's the best college basketball player ever. And even if that's debatable, she still is the most consequential. WNBA tickets are already being sold at a higher rate than ever before. And it's because she has announced she's coming to the league. So props to Caitlin Clark. I hope they have another deep run in the NCAA tournament. And, you know, she's not the only one that, you know, I think Juju Watkins is, like, she's got a sick game. You know, of course, Angel Reese. There's a lot of great women's basketball players, and I think it's just an exciting brand of basketball. So, anyway, enough about that. All right, So let me go back to what this trucking stuff for a second. So I get here to Tyson. Lady comes out. I give her my numbers. She's like, okay, yeah, drop your trailer here. Here's your bills. Fill it out. Because, you know, if you ever been to Tyson, you know, you got to always fill out like a sheet. It basically is like a double check thing. So she gives me these bills, and I didn't really look at them at first. I was like, all right, let me find a place for my trailer first. And so then I was pulling around to back my trailer, and I looked at the bills, and I was looking for my new trailer number. And I was like, oh man, I thought I had another one of those R trailers, right? The R trailers that came from that company, LW Miller. Then Prime brought out LW Miller, and we got some of their trailers, and they have the red and blue stripes on them on the side. And I don't really like those trailers. But anyway, I was like, dang. And then I was like looking around, and there's not many trailers in the loaded side here. And I was like, I don't see any of those trailers. So then I start reading the bills, and I'm like, oh, they got the wrong address. You know, because sometimes there's a consignee and the payment address is different from the delivery, but I'm like, none of this is right. And then I look at the top, and it says Stevens Transport. So I just park. I don't even drive back to the gate. I just walk up there because, you know, I'm a stud. Actually, it's not that far. It's like 100 yards. But anyway, I walk up there, and I was like, hey, you gave me the wrong bills. And I wasn't mean about it. I was just like, hey, these are the wrong bills. And I was like, oh, I thought, okay, she'll just give me my bills. But no. Turns out some clown-ass driver from Stevens Transport took my bills. Now, you might say, how did that happen? Well, there were only like a couple of trailers ready because this facility was running behind today. And it was a Stevens trailer and my trailer. And they were sitting side by side on the table in the little guard shack. And you know what I mean if you've been here before. So, oh boy, just grabs the wrong bills, right? But then she calls him, and she's got him on speaker, but he's way to F down the road. And those Stevens guys, they get to drive fast. So he was probably like 100 miles from here, because he left here at 3 and it's like 4:28 now. Although she called him a while ago. But anyway, oh boy took my bills, and he admitted on the phone, because I heard it with my own ears, he never read the bills. Now, I think that would be virtually impossible for a Prime driver to do that same thing. Why? Because we have to read the bills, right? We have to put information in the computer, in the macros, but then we also have to call and do what is called a live loaded call. And one of the things they do is they say, oh, hold on, I got to take this call. But as I was saying, one of the things Prime does is the first thing they say is, what's the 90 address on the bills? So there's a you know, a procedure in place to verify that drivers have the right bills. And by the way, if you'll remember, this is not the first time somebody botched it with a load that I ended up with. We had a CR England driver take a Prime trailer and the bills and drive from Pennsylvania to Ohio, and then I ended up repowering the load with one of my trainees a while back. But yeah, if you're going to take a load, this is just a pro tip from one trucker to another. If you're going to take a trailer, put a trailer on your back, you better make sure you got the right bills. Because if you don't and you get stopped, you might find yourself sitting on the side of the highway and getting a ticket for not having the correct bills. When you have a trailer on your back, you better have the bills for that trailer. and the SEALs better match. Otherwise, DOT, state troopers, whoever, they don't have to let you go until you can prove that you didn't steal that trailer. You can prove what's in the trailer, all sorts of stuff. So, read the frickin' bills. If you don't find your own trucking company's name on it, unless you're using a broker, you don't find your own trailer number on it. I guess, and here's the interesting thing. Because he didn't read the bills, he didn't even know if he had the right Stevens trailer. Now, there might only be one here. I don't know. But I can't imagine what would have happened if he was at some place that's a bigger facility that has 20 Stevens trailers. He's just taking whatever the hell he wants, I guess. So Stevens needs to up their game. They need to do some training. And, some days, Prime's not everything. But some days Prime is a lot better than the other outfits out in this space. So anyway, be safe, read your bills, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.